What's going on, viewers from the internet? I'm VarietyGamer95 here with a different kind of video. Okay, so this video will go over at least some of the secondary interests that I have, but to be perfectly honest, I really don't have that many interests outside of video games and the internet. Of course, pertaining to that in particular, one thing that I really like doing that's not YouTube is browsing a little old website called TV Tropes. To summarize, TV Tropes is a pop culture wiki that goes into what is essentially trivia about all sorts of pop culture, the little bits and pieces ranging from television shows, movies, video games, pieces of literature, maybe even covering some real life topics too. But as far as my interests outside of video games and the internet, to be honest, I really don't have a whole lot. One thing that I did enjoy doing when I was in 8th grade, yeah, we actually had this in PE when I was in 8th grade. One thing that I liked doing was archery. I really liked it and I got really good at it, but I haven't done archery since then. My buddy Danny actually got me some starter bows and arrows. But as of recording this video, I haven't actually gotten around to getting started in archery. Let's just say that time hasn't been kind to me. Another secondary interest that I have, according to my buddy Steak89, is food. I like eating. Hold on. Let me preface that I consider myself a really picky eater, so I guess you could say my palate is limited. In a sense, like for example, I straight up don't eat seafood. My reason for that is most of it looks the same dead that it does alive, and it kind of puts bad thoughts in my head. It freaks me out, so I just don't eat seafood. I don't have a problem eating meat simply because it doesn't look the same. Like cows turn into beef and chicken turns into chicken. It doesn't look the same dead as it does alive, so I don't have any problems eating chicken. But that's not to say that I entirely enjoy eating nothing but burgers and chicken. I also like eating sandwiches on occasion, or maybe even cooking a home meal, such as pigs in a blanket. Tying into homemade food, I actually recorded 2 videos that I would like to share with you guys. One recipe is for homemade cheesecake. The other recipe is for something that I like to call ham and cream cheese croissants. Okay, so to put this homemade cheesecake together, this is a recipe that my mom had, but I have since doubled the recipe when I started using a 10-inch pie crust. It says somewhere in there that it's 10 inches, but to make this, I go with 2 packs of cream cheese, the whole thing, 4 eggs, 1 cup of sugar, and a hint of vanilla. Trust me, you don't want to put in too much vanilla with this. I did that once by mistake. It didn't taste that great. So they all go into a bowl here. The pie crust itself goes on top of this baking sheet for easier lifting. And I mix it all with this hand mixer. This is a manual hand mixer. It's not an automatic one. It comes with 5 settings, and you press this button here to detach it. All right, let's go ahead. Okay, so this is what it's going to look like before I use the hand mixer to make the cheesecake. I apologize for the weird angle. This is my first time trying out this tripod, and I couldn't figure out how to keep it extended. So my process is to start slow by flipping this switch. You can see the numbers on the on the hand mixer. If it'll just focus, there we go. See, I just stick it in front of the camera. I'm not used to making real life videos. Okay, so my process is to start slow because it's going to be hard at first. So start at 1, make adjustments if I need to. Usually use the generic. See, I usually use generic cream cheese to save a little bit of money. But I'd like to actually, there we go. My hand's kind of sticky. Usually, once it starts getting more liquidy, that is when I start moving to the other settings. Tastes good. And usually I go to level 2 or 3. There we go, see? This is how you get the cheesecake made. See, I move the mixer a little bit so that the mixture comes out even. Okay, so this is a button. My mom and I actually had no idea that that was a button. And my dad chastised the both of us for that because we took them out by hand, the mixers, before. I do this as I take it to the sink. Also makes for a nice treat. At least I would like to do that, but the tripod's in the way. Oh, be quick. And as for where the mixture goes, first off, I preheat the oven to 385 degrees. The recipe calls for 350, but I started playing around with the settings to avoid over baking, you know. So the mixture is going to go into this pie crust here without the plastic, of course. There we go. See? No more plastic. So I use a spoon to guide the mixture into the pie crust. There we go. And get as much of it as I can because it is really yummy. I get to lick the spoon too. Yum. And once this oven over here is preheated, I will put the mixture in it for 40 minutes. About 40 minutes, give or take, depending on whether a knife stuck in the center comes out clean. Okay, and after putting the cheesecake in the oven, it is done. Once I put the cover on top of it, it's gonna go inside of the fridge, and then it will be time to chow down. Did I ever tell you guys how much I love cheesecake? I go gaga for this stuff, seriously. So another thing that I learned how to make in my attempt to follow a different recipe are ham and cream cheese croissants over here. I prefer these. These are the Signature Select croissants from Albertsons because I think the Pillsbury ones taste too buttery, I think they're too flaky, and they just don't taste good to me. So of course, there's the ham and the croissants, so all that's left is the cream cheese. Let's see, angle's a little weird because of, tastes good. Angle's a little weird because of the tripod that I'm using. I'm lucky enough that this is actually staying. So all I need to do now is cut up some cream cheese. If I'm good enough, cut them off into pieces about this big, if you guys could see that. I'm sure you're able to. So, and then I cut it into 2 halves, like so. Stick them on, and then I roll them up. 1 pack of cream cheese is good for 16 croissants. These croissants come in a pack of 8. So let's go ahead and get this taken care of, shall we? Once I finish this process, they will go into the oven at 380 degrees for about 12 minutes. 380 so that I can speed up the process of getting the croissants made. See, because I get cream cheese on my fingers, you know, I have to go to the sink and wash my hands. So the way that I prevent the croissants from getting stuck to the big cookie sheet that I'm going to use is by using some Pam baking spray. This is baking spray. Baking spray is not the same thing as cooking spray, because what's going to come out of this is flour. See? Made with flour. Alright, so I'm going to get these made and hopefully I'll be able to show you guys the final result. And there we go. That is 16 ham and cream cheese croissants. This one, you can tell that the cream cheese is melted. I just took it out, so it's still fresh and the pan is still hot. Unfortunately, no matter what I do, I can't seem to get it to not I can't seem to not get the bottom to look like this. I keep telling myself to set it down to 375, but I also keep forgetting. Of course, you can imagine I like pizza, and as far as desserts go, I go absolutely insane for cheesecake. I love that stuff. Well, at least the New York style cheesecake. I'm not a big fan of the syrup that blueberries and raspberries provide. The strawberry cheesecake I either like or don't like depending on the context, like say Carl's Jr. cheesecake. So food is one of my secondary interests. Another one of my secondary interests is going out with friends. Well, my buddy CypherSteak89 is no longer living in my area. I am not going to say where he is, where he once lived and where he lives now, but I could at least put up a picture of myself, CypherSteak, and Danny going out to eat or sitting at mine or Danny's houses playing video games. I actually have two pictures from those right now. Of course, it's not just sitting around or going out to eat. Sometimes we may end up doing something like going bowling, for example, or at least Danny and I do nowadays. I actually have a quick video about my going bowling that was used for a different purpose, and I'd like to share it real quick. So those were two of my secondary interests. One of my other secondary interests is I like reading Garfield and Archie comics. I would put in pictures of those, but I don't want to trigger issues. So I can only say their names, Garfield and Archie. Garfield the cat and Archie the teenager. That's basically all you need to know. If you're curious, look it up on Google or something. I don't know. But something else that I decided to try doing for reasons was getting into drawing. I really wanted to get into practicing drawing for a different Let's Play that I'm currently planning. I think it's going to take at least 2 years to plan out this Let's Play. It's a game called Metopia. The basic premise is an evil overlord steals faces of Miis, and you form a team of heroes to try and stop them. Yep, that's the whole premise of the game. You know, I really thought that I wasn't going to be putting up something like this, but I started drawing started practicing it in April 2022. Not that I've really been that committed, but for a first attempt, I don't think it's that bad. I showed some of my friends and my younger sibling. They all thought it was pretty good. But I would say it's definitely a lot harder to draw anime-esque boys as opposed to anime-esque girls. I might be better at drawing anime-esque girls. But hands seem to be my biggest weakness, and when you know it, that's one of the hardest parts of the human body to draw. Something else that I've been practicing drawing recently is drawing a rose. So my first attempt, I would say, wasn't too bad, I don't think. But it really did look like a rose following a guide on the internet. So I ended up drawing a rose from top view. But that didn't really look like a rose either. At least I couldn't make it look like it. So I actually tried drawing from stencils that I created, but it's actually a lot harder to do it from memory, to be honest. If you're wondering why I started talking about drawing, I actually came up with an idea about. Okay, so I came up with this idea back in 8th grade, so it's been on the back of my mind for. Geez, how old was I? It's been on the back of my mind for more than 10 years. I'm not good at math, okay? Oh, I look at the date on my calendar. I think it's been almost 15 years. Because I was in 8th grade when I came up with this idea, and I finished it in 2007. 8th grade, I mean. Wow, that's, I'm sorry, I just realized how old I am. I'm 28. I'm turning 30 in October. 30? See, there we go. I'm bad at math. I've always been bad at math. That's why I failed it 3 times in college. I'm going to be 29 in October. My buddy Danny is already 30. Anyway, I'm rambling at this point. Get back to drawing, Joseph. Before I show you guys my attempt at drawing, I actually drew out the main characters of this series a while back. Before I show you that, let me show you guys my attempt, or the way that I usually draw people and certain animals. Yeah, I know. It's like preschool drawings at best, right? Ironically, my stick figures actually managed to improve as I've been writing journals since December 2007, but still, my stick figures are the only thing that improved. The animals quite literally stayed the same. Now that I've showed you guys that, feast your eyes on this! These are at least some of the main characters of a series. I actually came up with 3 more male characters that use a non-standard design. These 3 actually took inspiration from different sources. The dog came from Family Guy's Brian Griffin. The short spaceman came from the Pikmin series. He resembles Captain Olimar, so I furiously actually caught the resemblance immediately when I showed him. And the robot came from 2008's Igor, more specifically the character Brain. So, compare my work with my younger siblings' work. Their online name is iBig, at least I think that's how you say it. So I'm going with that pronunciation. I know, it looks worlds better than what I did, and I really like this interpretation. I was debating on whether I should show this, but I knew that if I don't, I'm probably going to get some questions about it, so I'm just going to say it. I actually came up with winter outfits for the main characters as well. The female leads, anyway. The male characters don't matter much. So first I'm going to show off my work. Basically, it looks identical because I basically did some tracing. I'll go over that in a little bit. And I guess this is iBig's interpretation. See, I asked for this favor because of the Metopia Let's Play, because God knows how long it was going to take for me to draw. They've been drawing for almost as long as I've been playing video games, and you can see here that it's not consistent with their previous work. They told me that they had artist block, even though the previous work was right in front of them. Anyway, I asked for this favor because of the Metopia Let's Play, so this is actually the reason why I decided to take up drawing on my own. As you can see by one of the female characters, her dress actually has a bunch of roses all around it. I decided, after failing to draw the other roses, to trace a sketch of this character that my sibling did. I got the picture on my iPad and I traced it using a clear orange clipboard. So I decided to take up drawing as kind of a secondary hobby, I guess you could say. I'm not really that committed just because I'm not the best artist. I do have another friend who's an artist, and even Cypher Steak has been encouraging me to just practice and don't hate what I create. What was it that he told me before? He said learning is a process of creating. Something like that. I don't remember what my buddy said. But there we go. I decided to go for an anime-esque style, as you can see. I'm lucky that my younger sibling managed to catch on to that.
So anyway, that's pretty much it. I really don't have much else to say about secondary interests other than that. So I guess I will see you guys next time for whatever comes next. Bye.